Hi, this is Carl for Academy at Tunisi. I just want to make a quick note here and say that I have not formerly taught TOEFL for a long time. I taught it in 2004 to junior high school students, and it was TOEFL reading. And I think I did that only for a semester. And this was at an institute, not a public school. Not that that matters at all in any way, shape, or form. Teaching is teaching. Um, but a student recently sent me a TOEFL textbook to prepare for the test. And so I'm looking at it in good faith for his benefit. But I'm also learning things that will help me to understand what students are facing when they take the TOEFL. The reason that I never put any time into this before is my philosophy doesn't include a section on teaching to the test because I'm steadfastly against it. I understand how society and occupations and academia work, but I don't agree with it. The very act of holding the book in my hand was disturbing to me because the book is made by the people who make the test. Now, you could say, well, that's an act of kindness. Or an act of responsibility to make such a book. The book is made by McGraw-Hill. I can't think of the publisher's name or see it without seeing the whole stretch of property on 6th Avenue in New York City. I don't see it as responsible to give people a test. Well, let me rephrase that. Giving people the test is a service to the community for people who will then study in the United States or at schools around the world which may use the TOEFL exam. TOEFL, for anyone who doesn't know, stands for Test of English as a Foreign Language. But to make a business out of preparing people for the test, to me, could easily be misconstrued as a sensible or responsible or kind thing to do. But it doesn't make sense insofar as these tests are supposed to test your ability at English, not your ability to take a test. So the people who make the test, in my opinion, I may have to think about this more, but my incipient idea is, shouldn't be selling a book that strategizes how to take the test, because then that facilitates the concept which many teachers despise. I'm using the word despise here about tests. Teaching to the test. In a purer world, which is not a fantasy, it's a world that we all should aspire to, people wouldn't need to prepare for a test when the point of the test is to see what people's fluency level is. You see, because now you're getting tricky. Now you're strategizing the test. The real goal of learning another language and the goal of any test of fluency in another language should be, and I don't think any honest thinkers will disagree with me, to speak fluently in the language, not to take tests. And so what results is people where I teach in Asia, if not elsewhere, focusing on taking the test, right? And they'll take the test again and again, and they'll study for taking the test again and again, when what they really should be doing is taking a shortcut to fluency, which would be some of the things which I advocate, and I've now found at the back of the book. So when I say to students, read, at the back of the book it says to improve your ability for the test, read. When I say to students, speak and read the language every day, I find that it says at the back of the book, speak and read in the native language every day. When I say to students, listen to recordings of voice and make your own voice when you're studying, it says make recordings of your own voice at the back of the book. So there's nothing more satisfying than finding out that the core ideas that you've arrived at after years of thinking about something, regardless what it is, are advocated by the authorities that basically are kings of influence in the field, and I don't think they should be. The people who should be kings of influence in the field, for example, of fluency should be teachers, not test makers. Okay? So I'm not telling you not to buy the TOEFL books to study for the test. You can do that if you want to, and I'm sure it's helpful. But you're learning the language through focusing on a test of the language. If you don't see the philosophical conundrum in that, then I'm not going to say that there's something wrong with your thinking. You're just not a philosopher, okay? And I happen to think that all teachers need to be philosophers. If you can't think abstractly about thinking abstractly, then how can you think abstractly about a subject that you teach, whether it's math or history or philosophy or science or English? Teaching is about thinking. It's not about acquiring facts and passing tests. And when you think about fluency in a language, you realize it's not about passing a test of the fluency, because hopefully your fluency is greater than that of what is required to write a test. That's another abstract philosophical concept that might go over some people's heads. But think of it this way. If you wanted to be a good pilot, you wouldn't only study what's necessary to pass the check ride and the ground school test. You would practice flying the plane enough so that you knew more than what was on the check ride, and you knew more than what was on the ground school test. Similarly, if you want to learn to drive a car, you should be practicing with someone who will help you learn how to drive a car over and above what's necessary to take the test. A test is an examination of the bare minimum skills for the use of a tool or a technology or a skill. That's what a test is. A test cannot encapsulate the master level you should be aspiring to. And the way to aspire to a master level in anything can best be described in the way we all achieve the master level in walking. And it's by crawling first and standing up and taking strides until you can run before you take a walking test. I hope I made myself clear, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks. Stay masked.